welcome to another episode of 72 Hours. My name is Alan.
I'm Andrew.
And we're going to talk about today, Andrew, what do you prefer for your survival knife?
I actually prefer the Stroud Ultimate Mountain Survival Knife. It's got pretty much all the bells and whistles you would need in many situations.
Now, I disagree. I have something a little bit more simple. I have a Mora Light My Fire Swedish fire steel knife. It has not all the bells and whistles that Andrew has, but I think for the size and the price, it will do just as well as Andrew's. Now, we're going to go over the specs of each knife, and then we're going to demonstrate the different tools they have. We'll see which one's better, Andrew. What do you think?
I don't know. I think mine's going to be the beat.
I'm pretty sure mine will have a better edge on it. I'll guarantee mine is sharper than yours.
We'll see about that.
All right, let's go over the specs, guys. The survival knife I chose is a Light My Fire knife. It is a combination of two great companies. The Light My Fire company that was originally contracted by the Defense Department for Sweden to make a fire steel, and the Mora Knife company that's been around for over 120 years. With a combination like these two companies, how could you not have an awesome survival knife? Mora of Sweden makes this flexible and sturdy blade of Sandvik 12C27 stainless steel. The Scandinavian grind, a high friction TPE rubber handle, an original Swedish fire steel Scout with approximately 3,000 strikes on it, and can twist and lock into the handle. The Swedish fire steel fire starter works equally when wet and performs at all altitudes. It will produce a 3,000 degrees Celsius or 5,400 Fahrenheit spark. Also, I actually modified my knife with an emergency whistle and 550 cord wrapped around the handle. Just add a little twist of Allen.
My knife is the Camillus Stroud SK Mountain Ultimate Survival Knife. And even though the name of it is pretty big, it's got a lot of stuff to go with it. The blade length is 4.75 inches, where overall length is 10 inches. Titanium bonded 440 stainless steel, non-stick drop point blade with partial serrations. It includes an integrated ceramic sharpener, paracord wrap, integrated LED flashlight and whistle, fire starter, SOS signal mirror, storage compartment, a trail map mesh pocket, and it has a steel pommel.
The first test we're going to do is how well it cuts. We're going to compare both knives and see which one has the better edge, because with a knife, you want a good edge that's going to hold and it's going to be sharp. We're going to start mine first. Now with rope, a little bit of cordage, we'll see how well this goes. I'm just going to, very easy. You can just see, without any real effort, how well it cuts. Add a little pressure, it will cut every time. I think in the rope test it did well. Now we're going to do a tree and see how well that does. Let's get some of the branches off. Cut that. Let's do some scraping. Just like butter. Look at that. It just goes. Look how sharp that knife is. Really, very well. I can put a point on it very easily. Very sharp. Now, the key way to see how sharp a blade is the paper test. We'll see how well this does. Not bad. Look at that. That didn't work out too well because it's folded, but look at that. I mean, you can just see how sharp this knife is. I'm not putting any effort in it, it's just cutting it through just like butter. For this test, we're just gonna show how well this sparks. I know there's many ways that we could build a fire bundle, with a lot of dry stuff and leaves and stuff. But for this thing, we just wanna see if it will catch a spark. One of the best things to carry is a cotton ball with petroleum jelly. All you really need to do is throw a spark on it to get it going. We're just gonna see if there's enough spark out of my fire steel just to catch this. All right. Now, if I had a fire bundle all around here, but we didn't do, there are a lot of people do things like this. You never want to take your knife and do that because you're going to knock everything down. What you do is you hold your knife like this, and you just do that. A few other things on here is, like you said, you just saw it, was the fire rod. And like I said before, it puts over a lot of sparks. And Light My Fire is a well-known company that makes fire steel. Probably the best you can buy. What else we got in here? You've already seen the whistle. I added the 550 cord. What I like about this knife is the sheath design. It's a whole plastic sheath. It also has a belt loop that will clip on the MOLLE webbing on your belt. And what I really like about it, how it just holds. There's no straps, there's no Velcro. Unlike Andrew's knife that has Velcro, that will fail because Velcro always fails when it's wet or other things out there or when debris gets in there. This will always stay nice and thin. Now you're going to ask me, what about water? They even came up with a little hole in there. If water gets in the sheath, it comes out. Very nice. You just slide it in, you slide it out. Very comfortable grip. There's a little crud on it because I just did a demonstration of fire. But very simple. It's small, it's compact, and with my modifications, I think for the money and for what it is, it's good. This was about under 30 bucks on Amazon. For a knife that has a quality fire steel and a quality blade like from Mora, and the sheath, and then adding these extras, you really can't beat the price for the quality.
So this is a Les Stroud Ultimate Mountain Survival Knife. And basically, yeah, it's got a bunch of bells and whistles, but you know what? It's got good use. So let's just start with the knife in the case, everything that's around this. So it's got a mirror on it, which you can use for SOSing or, looking at yourself at, which you probably won't need to really worry about. But like, if you have a nice sunny day, you can shine the mirror. Let's see if we can get it kind of, and, signal for help. It also has a nice little pocket that you can open up with and put really whatever you want in there, as long as it's can fit the size. I have some matches in there, so in case I need light a fire. There's also paracord. Now it's not 550 paracord, but it's still nylon. It's still going to hold pretty damn tight, and I'm pretty sure it's 6 feet of it, and it's wrapped up right in the side of the hilt, if you can see right there, and you can use it for like holding down forts or tarps or whatnot, or buying stuff together. The sheath also has a nice little mesh pocket back here that has a little survival hand guide kind of stuff, or trying to signal planes or whatnot, stuff that you might need to know. It also has a piece of cloth that will allow you to hook this up to your belt. No, you can't just slide it into your belt, but if your belt slides into it, it won't come off, something that his does not have. You can just slide it right in. If you get jostled around a bit, you may lose your knife. This you won't. Yes, mine does have a Velcro on it. It makes it a little bit more difficult to get it out, but you know what? The knife also locks into place. Now the sheath has a whistle and knife. Now a lot of reviews will say that the whistle and the knife part of it kind of suck, and I will agree that the light is kind of it's not going to show much, especially now since it seems that my battery is dead. But hey, if it works and you need something, it's there, it's on the knife, it's with you at all times. And then the whistle, it's not super powerful, but it's going to help. It's still loud, it's still hurt. And then on the other side of the knife, fire steel, so it'll be with you at all times. No, it's not into the hilt of the knife, but there's something else on the hilt of the knife that's even better. So fire steel works pretty well. It also has a knife sharpener inside the hilt, or in the sheath, excuse me. And so you can be able to sharpen your knife anytime you need. So in case of another knife like Alan's, his will dull over time. Mine will dull over time, but I can sharpen it back up. Now let's talk about the knife. The knife, it's got a full tang in it, so it's going to be very sturdy. It has a nice sharp edge. It came sharp too. You didn't have to sharpen it once you bought it. Also has a nice little saw in it, which I'll explain and show you what that does better. Also, the knife has a steel pommel, which you can use to hammer on things or to break bone if you went hunting or whatnot. So it's a real all-around knife. And yes, it has little stylus things. Let's start showing you what you can use this knife for, comparing it to his. Okay, so first, I'll show you how sharp it is against rope. Now this hasn't been sharpened at all, just easily cuts rope, right? Pretty clean, pretty cut. Do it again. Try to do it slower this time so you can actually see. Now I didn't have to full motion, I literally just twisted my wrist. It's ripped. Now I've got a nice little serration on the knife. Now with Alan's help, because it's a little bit harder with a serration, I'm going to saw at it, and it rips right apart. Now with a thicker rope, that's going to be a lot better. The knife is not going to be as good on thicker rope, like 550 or something, but with a saw, or serrated, it's going to be a lot easier to cut through something like that. My knife also has the steel pommel on it that allows you to hammer in things like bone or wood or whatever you may need to, dent something. But since we don't have that kind of situation, we're going to use a can to show you what happens. I think that did a pretty good job punching into the can. Now, if you had a can of soup and you couldn't open it and get anything at it, now you can. So like Alan did before with the branch, I'll show you how my knife compares against his. So, if you want to pan down here, I got my branch, and we'll sheared right off. Let's do another limb. Sheared right off, for the most part. One more. Look at that. Beautiful cut, nothing to it. Something else that the knife has, like I've explained before, is the serrated edge. You can use it to cut. You can actually saw into your limb. You don't have to go and hack at it. You can actually start sawing it and being able to cut something down, which his knife doesn't have. You would have to keep hacking at it, kind of like an axe, where you could just sit there and saw for a little bit and be able to cut it out. But let's do the test where, just shave at the thing. And as you can see, it does a pretty good job at being nice and sharp, smooth motion, does not have jagged lines or whatnot. You can do little shavings very easily. You don't have to add a ton of power behind it. It's just a nice clean blade that goes right through anything. My knife does come with, like I said before, fire steel. His knife has a little bit better as fire steel, I will admit, because it has a little bit longer of the length to it, but at least my knife comes with it, with all the other stuff. So, if I'm stuck in the woods somewhere, at least I have it, It may not be the best, but it's there, and I think that's great news. Now, like he had before, little petroleum jelly bundle, we'll give it a shot. It works, it does the job, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, that's what you need. You need something that'll do the job and get you surviving. And I actually almost forgot the paper test. Alan showed you that his does a pretty good job at cutting. Mine does not seem to be doing just as good a job. All right. It's pretty good. Now, I'll admit, I think his is a little bit better. It also might just be that the paper is completely mangled by the time I got to it, but it cuts paper.
All right, now we just did the knife comparison, and I'll give Andrew credit. He's got a little bit more options than I do, and I actually added options to this knife. I mean, I added a whistle, and I'm pretty sure mine's a little bit louder than his, as you try to get it out of your knife. I mean, he has to pull his knife out just to try to get it.
Yeah.
And he just drops it.
So, yeah, it's a little bit difficult.
Let's hear that. I mean, granted, this is an aftermarket whistle, and I have it on my lanyard. When I'm using it in an emergency, I can just go.
So it's a little bit easier for him to use his whistle, but mine still comes with a whistle. That's not a bad thing.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Now, granted, I added cordage. This knife didn't come with cordage, but I added 5550 cord. He's got nylon. It's good, but I would opt, honestly, Andrew, you should put some 550 cord on that. It's going to be a stronger rope. I put it on here.
Now, I'm not going to go hiking with this cord, and I don't think you're going to go, not hiking, climbing with this cord, and I don't think you're going to go climbing with that cord either. That doesn't mean that since this is not 550 cord, that it's all of a sudden the worst cord in the world. It just means that yours cord is stronger. That's fine.
Also, it has individual strands that I can bring into more cordage. It's a little bit more option. Now, the other test, you have to give me this much. With the paper test, my knife cut a little bit sharper.
I will admit, his knife definitely cut the paper a lot sharper. However, both of our knives cut the wood very well, which is fantastic in the survival situations. It means both of our knives are going to be able to make wood a little bit feathery to add tinder to make a fire a lot easier.
Now, the reason it cut better on Think is it's sharper. That shows a better sharper. Yours probably going to be better for more hacking, but this is going to be a little bit more for finer work.
Okay.
Because of the smaller blade. I think the other thing we had was, aside from you had the matches, that was cool. You had the fire start, you had the flashlight, for unfortunately the battery thing. You had the mirror, right?
The mirror.
You had the survival guide.
I have the survival guide.
Yeah. I do like having a simple sheath that's all plastic, no nylon or anything. It's smaller, it's compact. And he also said about my thing, this has a belt catch on it. This can go over a belt. I don't have to take my belt off. You do.
Yes, but if I do end up slipping or falling or whatever, and this won't come off of me, this will stay on me at all times. You run the risk. Not that it won't 100% stay on, but you run the risk of it coming off.
Let's do an example on a belt loop right here. Yeah, it's really coming off.
All right, stop. I get it. Okay. Regardless, you still have a chance just because it is open. This doesn't have an open spot. Once the belt loop is through, the only thing that'll rip this thing off is sheer muscle, because then it'll have to rip at the strands that hold this thing together.
I mean, he did have some of the nice stuff. I mean, you have to give me the fire steel. I mean, with a brand name like Light My Fire that is known for their fire steel, I think it's a little bit better quality. Yours did work, but it took you more strikes.
It did take me more strikes, and I will admit, your fire steel is a little bit better than mine, but that doesn't mean that this is bad. It means it takes a little bit more work, but it's still here. It's still on this knife, just like it's on his knife, meaning if you're lost in the wood, having this knife is just as good as having this knife, just a little bit different in the way that you end up having to use it.
See, the most important thing for me is I want something with a very sharp edge. Moras are known with their Scandi grind to be sharp out of the box. And with the Swedish fire steel, known as one of the best fire steels, you got a great combination. And I think one other thing Andrew does have that I don't is a sharpener. And I guess that is an advantage that I kind of wish I could add to this knife. Maybe I'll fasten a sharpener on here with an inner tube. You can take an inner tube from a tire, cover the sheath, and I could probably put a sharpener. That's one thing I do wish I had on this knife, but I'm modifying it. And that's the difference between me and Andrew's thing. But I think it's also who makes it. Cabela has been known for a long time to make knives, and they did team up with Lee Stroud, and I think that's just like the Bear Grylls knife.
Less Stroud, but yeah.
Less Stroud. But I mean, you got Mora that's been around for over 120 years, known for their knives, inexpensive, and then you got the Light My Fire Swedish steel that was made by the Defense Department for Sweden. Now let's talk about price. Without me adding the 550 cord and the whistle, probably another $6 to add these two features. But I paid $27 for this on Amazon. You can't beat this for a price. I mean, it's probably, what, half the price of yours?
A little bit. It's this. Okay, so I bought this on Amazon actually for, was it 40, 45 bucks, somewhere within that range. But I mean, it does have a lot more options on this. So yes, his knife is cheaper. Mine's a little bit more expensive. His knife is more simplistic. Mine has a lot more gadgets and gizmos on it, but they're good knives. This is the key thing that I want to stress that I think you can agree with. They're both fantastic knives. I prefer this knife, he prefers that knife. However, I actually want to buy his knife too. That doesn't mean that this knife is bad or that his knife is better. They're both good knives. They just do things differently.
I think the difference is with his knife, his is better for somebody who isn't into camping, who doesn't know certain skills, because he has other options he can lean on. Somebody like me who goes out in the woods and does a lot of camping and kayaking, realistically, I just need a good blade and something to make fire. I can make do without the matches, without the whistle, without the sharpener. I'm more comfortable with my skill, and I think it's your skill level. If you feel like you can do without and you have the ability, then this might be a better knife for you. Or if you rather have the options and your skills are not as good, this gives you options that you can fall back on, like a survival guide, a sharpener, cordage, and everything else. But I think it's our level of skill, and it's really personal preference. All right.
In the end, that is the truth. What do you prefer? Do you want something simplistic or a little bit more gizmotic? Whatever you want to call it.
All right. Thank you guys for coming to 72 Hours. I hope to hear from your comments again. Give us ideas. If there's other survival knives or other knives that you want to do, we'll do a review on it. And give us your opinion. We look forward to hearing from you, and have a wonderful day.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Alan.
And this is 72 Hours.